Question number 6, James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Ghost Minister.
Order. That will lead to disorder. No, I'm dealing with this. That will lead to disorder if the member would start and ask question number 6 without that embellishment.
Certainly, Mr. Speaker.
James Shaw, question number 6.
My question is to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his statement on Radio New Zealand this morning that, quote, those people deserve as much support as we can give them, end quote?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, who I've acted on behalf of, I don't know, several hundred times in the last 8 years on a Thursday, Mr. Speaker, yes, this year alone, taxpayers will provide $10.4 billion of welfare support to vulnerable New Zealanders. And that excludes superannuation. So $10.4 billion of welfare support. For example, being the first government in over 40 years to increase benefits for families with children by $25 a week. That's the first government over 40 years. Increasing working for families to very low income working families by over $24 a week and to other families by up to $12.50 a week. Increasing childcare assistance for low-income working families, providing free GP visits and prescriptions for under 13s, providing breakfast in schools to all schools that want it, putting social workers in place in low-decile primary schools, insulating over 300,000 homes across the country.
I'm going to have to continue the answer. The question simply asked whether the member stood by a statement he made, and that was answered almost immediately. James Shaw, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How many families does the government project will be lifted out of poverty by the recent $25 benefit increase, and by when?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I don't believe that particular figure has been calculated, and in any event, the important ways of lifting the income and wealth of families is actually by having a growing economy that delivers more jobs for families. That's the bit that makes the real difference. This helps them in the short term, but in the medium to longer term, it's providing them with work opportunities and the opportunities to succeed with their families and provide their incomes to their families. That's the bit that actually lifts the income distribution of New Zealanders.
Yeah. Supplementary question.
Order. Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Why does the Minister still believe that job growth will solve poverty when so many of the people who are living in cars and garages already have jobs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, because jobs and higher incomes, growing wages, is very, very important to growing the opportunity for families to succeed. And the member can say that the level of wages isn't important or the level of job opportunities isn't important, but I think most New Zealanders would realise that's exactly what's important.
Terrible answer.
Order.
By what percentage?
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
By what percentage have incomes for the bottom 10% of income earners risen or fallen relative to household costs over the last 10 years?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, that's a very detailed question, and I'd invite the member to put it down in writing and he'll get an accurate answer for a supplementary question. But, Mr. Speaker, can I tell the member that actually under this government the number of people dependent on a benefit for their income has reduced, and the number of people whose children are dependent on a benefit income has significantly reduced, and that's because more than 200,000 new jobs have been created in the last 3 years, which provide people with the opportunity to succeed.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Does the government think that all of the 80,000 kids that go to school hungry every day should depend on their lunch from Lord?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, no. And in actual fact, most New Zealand children go to school with lunches able to be supplied by their families. In terms of the support that the New Zealand government supplies, we work with providers to ensure that there is breakfast in schools available and the children have a meal with those schools that need to have that extra support. But importantly, we're increasing the benefits for families with children. We're keeping the cost of living under control. Inflation currently around about 0%. Food prices have been dropping, fuel prices have been dropping. All those things help make the important things in life that the member refers to more affordable for families.
Question.